Excited as she was to get married to Maddox, she wasn't looking forward to the wedding itself, nor to the words she seemed to bite back every time she saw her parents. She couldn't fight the feeling that all the happiness she'd enjoyed these past months was about to implode, leaving only an empty shell in its wake. Wanting desperately to elope, Bridget regretted every day that she'd never voiced this wish to Maddox. But, having only been out of the military a year, Maddox was still a SEAL at heart, and was looking forward to having his teammates with him to share his wedding day. She couldn't take that away from him, especially when so many of his teammates were also now his business partners in the ice cream shop he opened with his friend Becca. If only Bridget could have had a wedding without inviting her parents, without letting all the tension of recent years seep into her special day. If only... Oh my... Her mind snapped back to the very seductive reality of Maddox murmuring against her skin, with the low vibration of it making her body spring to life. His tongue traced tiny, deliberate circles around the pearl of her arousal, and his fingers teased her, skimming along her entry without giving her the penetration she craved. Her back arched involuntarily, increasing the pressure of his mouth on her center, and tremors built inside her core. Bridget's lips parted slightly, ready to beg, yet Maddox always knew intuitively what she needed and when, and she felt his fingers slide into her, the slickness of her folds welcoming him. Desire swelled like a massive wave upon the ocean, rising upward as her soul seemed to drift toward a precipice. And when he stretched her, slipping another finger into her, her body drew tight, muscles contracting until she ached for release. Sliding his fingers outward and then slipping inside her again, he set a rhythm that made her heart hammer behind her ribcage and her eyes flicker shut, with every thought that wasn't exclusively of Maddox vanishing. He had a way of drawing out foreplay that was almost agonizing in the most scintillating way. Never settling on a simple, efficient climax, he knew he could prolong the sweet torture so that when she finally exploded, the memory of it would make her body simmer each time her mind drifted his way. Maddox Kerry was a perfectionist, in that sense. So it wasn't a surprise when he lessened the pressure of his mouth on her, just as she was poised to shatter, making her whimper a curse. With her eyes still pressed shut, she couldn't see his grin, but felt it, the subtle curves of his lips as they touched her again where she needed it most. His hands roamed lazily along her inner thighs, fingers still wet with her moisture, then outward to her hips, lifting her slightly. A sigh escaped her, knowing the angle would only give her more of the sensations she ached for. He entered her again, deeper this time, not withholding the pressure she needed from him, and the impact of her climax crashed violently upon her, making her buck and shudder against him until her muscles finally wilted into the soft bed linens. How does he do that? She couldn't help wondering it, as she quivered at the feel of his tongue still sliding along her most sensitive bundle of nerves. Her brain went numb, with every worry she had dissipating in the night. She hit the lottery the day he'd walked over her threshold one rainy night last spring, and not just because he was a feast for her eyes, or because his touch could make her body sizzle in anticipation, but because his soul so easily fused with her own that she now couldn't understand how she'd ever survived without him. She was completely, incomprehensibly in love with Maddox Kerry. Eyes lapping up the sight of his sinewy muscles, she watched him raise his body off her and reach toward the nightstand to retrieve a condom. Even though they'd talked about starting a family one day, they agreed to wait a little longer till both their businesses were on firmer financial ground. It was times like this that she wanted most to throw caution to the wind, to just feel him without any barrier between them. But then she'd have her morning coffee with her friend Becca and hear about the perils of motherhood and the drama of having a tween. Just a year or two for Maddox and me. That time would be theirs alone to explore who they were as a couple first, before bringing a child into this world. They'd promised themselves that. His mouth lowered to her breast as he slid himself inside of her moisture, making her gasp as he filled her completely. Each thrust its